In 2020, a player appeared in GTA 5 Online whose acts of evil enraged the community. For the next year, in an effort to hunt him down, he would cause a massive multi-crew war where hundreds of players made it their mission to make him quit the game entirely. This is the story of GTA 5's most evil player. But to understand everything, from the reason for the wars against him to how he ended up in real-life prison, we have to go back 1 year to see just who this guy was and how this all started in the first place. This is the first sighting of our most evil player, and it came in the summer of 2019. A user in the YouTuber MetProSOWC's Discord server posted a message asking if anyone knew a player called Pro Darkun God, who had apparently been griefing the entire lobby until everyone left. According to the user, he seemingly targeted the members of MetPro crew as if knowing what the crew was. But after being defeated by Darkun, they just left without talking to him. Because, well, to answer this user's question, no one did know him. He was just another random player at this point, with the entire discussion just fizzling out. And Darkun did not like that. See, Darkun did know MetPro. He knew they were YouTubers and he knew they were popular. He thought that if he was able to be members of their crew so easily, what if he could beat them? See, as we'll come to understand, the one thing you must know about Darkun is that he loves attention. He loves prestige and he loves being the best. But those things don't come from killing random low-tier players in a YouTuber's crew once every month. No, Darkun needed to do something far more direct. Something that would make everyone know his name. And that thing came on the 16th of August, 2019, where Darkun would kill a player, causing the entire community to become enraged at him. And unfortunately, that player was me. But how did this all happen? Well, Darkun came up with a simple but ingenious plan. He would join the MetPro Discord directly, and just be f***ing annoying.
Let it go! Let it go!
His plan was to join the server and spam the chat, claiming he was the best player in the world, and his assumption was that this would make MetPro want to fight him. But as you can guess, they did not give a single shit. So Darkun decided to work his way up. His plan was to sit in VC for hours and boast about being the best pro player in the world, which would piss off anyone who joined. And then, when you want to prove him wrong, he'd bait you into a 1 versus 1, with his end goal being to do this over and over again until he beat the entire Discord. And on that fateful day, I just so happened to take the bait. Docks was the decided battlegrounds. This was a place of many battles, and now it was time for one more. A sniper 1 versus 1 between me and Darkun. A fair fight to see if Darkun really was the best player in the world. But as soon as I got in game, I received a message from an anonymous user also in the Discord who apparently fought Darkun in a public lobby a few hours earlier. And their message was a warning. A warning that Darkun was a bit suspicious, that his aim was a bit too good, almost like he never missed a shot. This was a warning that Darkun was cheating. But a warning is just that. There's no proof of such a thing, which means my goals in this fight had just changed completely. No more did I just have to win, but I had to also figure out and prove if Darkun was cheating. So immediately, I threw that sniper-only rule out the window and decided to try something. I played very carefully, while not allowing Darkun any idea that I was suspicious of him. The most important thing was that I couldn't let him directly see me while we prepared to begin our duel. See, if my friend's suspicions were true, it meant that Darkun was likely using something called Triggerbot. Triggerbot is a third-party cheat where the game automatically shoots for you when you hover your crosshair over an enemy. Now, this is incredibly troublesome, but if a cheater were to stack this with damage mods and a heavy sniper, then it means they can just one-shot you through max health even if you use the health buff from BST. So if Darkun even sees me on his screen for 1 second, it means I'll die. To counteract this, I made sure that I was never on the same street as Darkun, positioning myself in a way that forces him to play into me until he did just that. The moment he came towards the corner to peek me, I was able to fire a homing missile at him, which would have killed anyone. But to my surprise, darkun just walked it off. In fact, according to testimony from players in the lobby after the fact, he didn't even take any damage. Now, you may just be thinking that I achieved my goal of exposing darkun, but the issue is that this could be caused by lag. I mean, it happens, and there's no way he'd be God mode in a 1v1, right? Assuming he is trying to appear like a legit player, it would be far too obvious if I hit him with my sniper and I did no damage. So, if it can be explained away, it isn't exactly definitive. I needed another shot. My plan this time was to make darkun lower his guard even further for another sneak attack. Quickly, I went into passive mode, which is a mode in GTA 5 where you can't use any of your weapons or be hit by anybody else. It's essentially the I don't want to fight anymore mode that puts you in more of a spectator's position. With this, I acted like I was done with the 1v1, while darkun explained away that I didn't hit him on his screen. I stood nearby, waiting for the perfect moment to use the passive mode bypass trick. See, you can't be in passive mode while in a CEO. There is a null and void effect in place here that cancels out one or the other. So, if you were able to start a CEO from in passive, you would theoretically skip the cooldown altogether and immediately come out of passive, which is what's called a passive pop. But how would that be possible? Because, as you might have assumed, you can't start your own CEO from in passive. The choice is completely blanked out. So you may not be able to start a CEO, but you can join someone else's. By accepting a CEO invite, you cancel out passive mode, therefore completely bypassing the exiting passive mode countdown, allowing you to strike your target immediately, creating what is essentially the perfect sneak attack. And thanks to having friends in the lobby, I was able to pull off this trick. However, the moment I came out of passive, darkun just so happened to suddenly teleport, causing my homing launcher to miss, and in a moment of panic that my sneak attack failed, I was too slow to get back into passive. Meaning darkun's bullet reached me. With that victory secured, darkun left the lobby before everyone there could gang up on him. And it's doubly unfortunate that my efforts couldn't prove if darkun was cheating due to the fact that what we experienced could simply be explained away by lag. Seemed like darkun had won this battle with his own skill. Until he did this. What darkun just did is a completely illegal move. As I just explained regarding how being a CEO cancels passive mode, having a bounty has a similar effect. See, bounty placing is used in PvP to stop whoever you're targeting from running away to passive mode where they would be safe. It doesn't remove passive if you're already in it, but it does block you from entering passive mode. This is because the game sees you as an objective for other players, and those players can't get that objective if you're in passive mode, so it's blacked out. And anticipating darkun wouldn't hang around to fight all of us, we set a bounty on him, only for darkun to completely ignore it, claiming the reason he was able to do this was XARX macro ultimate, which we'll get into in a second. So this confirms it. I may have lost, but my sacrifice wasn't in vain. Darkun was cheating. It's funny how he could have completely gotten away with this had it not been for his own stupidity. But as good as it is that we got confirmation, this kill on me sent a shockwave through the server, which led to him getting banned from the Discord for cheating. But now people knew about darkun, and the community wasn't done messing with the guy so openly flaunting his hacks while pretending to be legit. Over the next week, the people who hunted darkun for revenge began to realize that he was a total piece of shit.
Yeah, rip. Nah.
He was always racist in the voice chat or shouting down the mic that he was the best player to ever touch the game, all while triggerbotting anyone who approached him.
You pro player! You pro ability and skill. I am the best pro player in the world, eSport GTA Online.
And if you called him out on this behavior, he would never admit to cheating, almost as if he was completely delusional in believing his own lie that he was legit.
No, te ves, manito, te ves.
darkun had really pissed people off. And so, over the next few months, what I'll call the MPro Coalition, which is the PvP players from MetPro Discord, would begin to hunt down darkun with the end goal of making one of the most annoying cheaters in the game's history quit Grand Theft Auto Online. But darkun would not go easily. In response to the countless players attacking him, darkun decided to make a crew to help him fight back. A crew called XARX. For the MPro Coalition, this was worst case scenario. Like them, darkun could now call in backup, causing more players from other discords and crews to get involved in helping take him down. But what this meant was that this had evolved into a crew war. The MPro Coalition and its allies from the likes of UVersusPro's crew were heading straight into a new era of GTA 5 Online. The Great War against XARX had begun. darkun's goal in this war right now was making sure his crew wasn't hot dog shit. He couldn't just let his low-level members get destroyed the same way he was destroying everyone else, his low-level members. Otherwise, they'll just leave the crew or quit the game. So for them, he crafted what might be the holy grail of GTA Online artifacts: the XARX macros. Now, if you don't know what macros are an agreed upon tool in GTA 5 PvP that you can use to automatically run inputs. Basically, every GTA PvP player on PC ran macros, and at the end of the day, hardly ever were the difference maker. Macros are just used to spawn BST or Bullshark Testosterone faster from Rockstar's janky interaction menu, which is really nothing game changing. So with the understanding that everyone else is using macros, what's up with darkun's XARX macros? Well, darkun's macros weren't for navigating the game's interaction menu, but instead were for navigating his mod menu. Auto passive mode, auto BST, auto teleport, the list goes on. Now imagine you meet darkun in a lobby, and I'm sure you can imagine how annoying it is playing against someone who just doesn't play by the laws of the world at all. Now imagine 10 of them. Darkun was building a little XARX army, an army full of cheaters, all pretending to be legit. And darkun was starting to take over lobbies with them. Now, as much as darkun was able to take over lobbies with his hordes of noobs, they weren't always online. See, the current strategy for engaging with darkun was waiting for him to be alone and mass inviting people to assist in taking him down, like a boss fight in an MMORPG. Literally, if darkun was seen in a lobby, a message would appear in MetPro Discord within the minute, asking for help to fight him. This strategy was an initial success, causing darkun to struggle heavily. Even if he has perfect aim, there is a limit to how many people he can shoot at once. So, the more competent players were able to secure kills on him by simply just outnumbering him. But the success of this strategy wouldn't last long, as darkun got fed up with the constant jump fests almost immediately. And thus came the DDoSing. If someone was a bit too good, darkun would quite literally crash their games with mods or boot them offline. This is possible because your IP is literally open to everybody in GTA Online, as it uses a peer-to-peer connection system. And you can crash your game via the mod menu by spawning 700 invisible objects on you in 1 second. So, as the more and more people started targeting him, darkun also decided to, let's say, get a bit more ruthless with his cheating. There's a hilarious video by Presme where during one of these aforementioned XARX hunts, they capture a hilarious moment where darkun goes passive while in a CEO this time.
There he is. He's about to get the man.
He's passive in a CEO. Bro, what?
There's nothing funnier than watching darkun clips and you just see him running around with his classic passive mode in a CEO move. Something that is completely impossible based on the lore of the game that we discussed earlier, which he is seemingly oblivious to. It's just hilarious how he never learns. 1312 Bree was a member of MetPro server at the time and showcased how darkun just kept getting more ballsy with how he was fighting. Like this clip, where Bree goes after darkun while in a Ghost Orc jet, only for darkun to immediately find him and speed hack a kill. despite Bree's great use of dogfight tactics. Then, upon respawn, darkun immediately goes from near maximum altitude to ground level in order to secure another kill. And if that wasn't enough, Bree then hilariously captures this iconic clip of darkun's jet teleporting in midair, which exposed how he was seemingly everywhere at once whenever he goes off radar. And if you call him out for any of these things, guess what? He crashes your game and boots you offline. I'm sure you're beginning to understand why I call him GTA 5's most evil player, because during this time, darkun made a list of all the IPs he grabbed, and he was paying for his own stressor to boot people off, going on to continuously hit people off for weeks if he knew they couldn't change their IP. Just diabolical stuff. Bree, being a prominent force on the front lines against Zarks, was able to showcase just how weak darkun's crew members were, with them being absolute fodder in almost every single fight. We learned that half of them weren't even playing with the macros enabled, and the half who did were losing anyway, which caused a lot of them to leave the crew over the course of the year. Like this guy, Thierry Starr, who lost 16-2 in this 1v1. Pretty unfortunate loss there, but this is the skill level of darkun's crew members, and it was beginning to come really obvious that darkun needed to do something about it, but darkun was too late, as it all came crashing down when someone infiltrated XARX Crew as a spy in order to steal the one true macro to rule them all. The XARX macros were a legendary artifact by this point, being referenced in almost every single lobby by darkun as the reason behind how he could do what he did. We had to get our hands on this. We were desperate to truly know what on earth it actually was and what he was handing out to these noobs in his crew. So, a player named Darkness decided to infiltrate his crew to get them for himself. It was this infiltration that Darkness discovered what darkun was handing out was an external never wanted mod to his crew members, under the claim of course they were just macros, which, in case I lost you at some point, a never wanted mod which removes all the cops from the game is not a macro. He also admitted that he used mods like hotkeys, saying it's like a macro but instantaneous. We finally had confirmation about his instant passive, as some people in the community were genuinely claiming it was just a glitch in his defense. Well, now it's clear he's just pressing the pretty passive mode hotkey on his menu and there is no secret glitch he's using. During this infiltration, people got access to darkun's crew Discord server, and we got this beautiful photo of his PC setup. The heist was a complete success on multiple fronts. Darkness managed to get a hold of the legendary XARX Macros Ultimate.rar, but not only that, this fiasco caused darkun to sort of mental boom at having to deal with trolls wanting in his crew, and so he moved all recruitment to a mysterious figure called 000, who I'll refer to as Nil, but we'll get into them later. On the war front though, darkun's mental boom continued, and to counteract our strategy of mass inviting players to overwhelm him, darkun began locking sessions with his mod menu. His goal right now was to remove all the good players by crashing their games and DDoSing them, so that the lobby was just left with the lower level players to make it look like he was winning. Our one advantage over darkun, strength in numbers, was now something we could no longer rely on. Due to this, it was starting to get too hard to catch darkun. He was genuinely winning 1v1s, even against good players, because he just wouldn't let up on DDoSing everyone else away. So eventually, they just stopped trying to fight him. This terrible realization that darkun was actually winning began to cross people's minds. He began posting videos on YouTube claiming XARX Crew were the best, and posting his victories against anyone who agreed to a 1v1, beating player after player due to abusing his cheats to higher and higher degrees. The most important thing in a GTA fight is who strikes the decisive blow, because whoever gets that first kill decides the flow of the whole fight. The other player has to give chase and play into you to get their kill back. The winner is decided by whoever has the higher scorecard. The 3-0 cry meme gained popularity through the ultimate defeat of being 3-0'd.
Yeah, 3-0. This is a 3-0. This is a 3-0. It's okay. Don't make me laugh, please.
Versus knows this. He knows that he has to play the map carefully in order to land the decisive blow. But it seems darkun understands this too, immediately heading into Ghost Org as soon as Versus steps onto the map, in order to try score a sneak attack. And so, as the two of them meet on the battlefield for the first time, the one who lands a decisive blow was Versus. Realizing Darkun was about to go Ghost Org and not wanting to waste his own in retaliation, Versus opted to go into RC Bandito to set up a very specific trick. See, at the time, there was a glitch that allowed you to step outside of RC from wherever you were in that moment. So how RC normally works is you disappear from the map and become the RC. If you die in RC, the other person doesn't get the kill, so think of it like the move Substitute from Pokemon. In this case, you substitute your attack power for Off-Rider and a freebie. It lets you cheat death. Now the important part here is that when you leave RC, you normally spawn relatively close to where you went into RC. Versus, however, used a trick to instantly warp out of RC in front of Darkun. By holding up the character selector and pressing F or Y on controller, the game allowed you to just step out of it like a normal car. Darkun probably deduced Versus was in RC, but didn't expect Versus to find him, didn't expect the RC to be able to kill him, and so the one with the stronger sneak attack was Versus, securing the first kill on Darkun, who due to his lack of game knowledge, didn't expect such a move at all. However, within the next few minutes, Darkun would equalize, then push the score to 2-1. Now, why was Versus caught off guard by this? He's aware Darkun is trigger botting, but what he didn't expect was Darkun using damage mods. See, Versus went into BST, or Bull Shark Testosterone, which as mentioned earlier gives you a health buff by reducing incoming damage by 50% and doubling the damage of your weapons. This means that while on BST, you can one-shot anyone with the heavy sniper who isn't on BST. But if you're both on BST, it becomes a two-shot. So based on this rule, Versus assumed he'd be able to tank at least one shot from Darkun before he died. But this wasn't the case, as Darkun was a dirty cheater. If Versus couldn't figure out a way to beat Darkun without sneak attacks, then Darkun would win. Now, Versus does have a few options here. Perhaps he could put some distance between them and attack from range, or perhaps he could go RC again. But instead of doing any of those things, Versus actually decided to attack head-on again, choosing to take an incredible gamble on how much damage Darkun can dish out. See, some mod menus at the time used a damage slider for their damage mod setting. Now, since Darkun is trying to appear as a legit player, Versus makes a gamble that he wouldn't have set this to, let's say, 2000 damage, because then he would just one-tap armored vehicles and it would be far too obvious. No, Versus assumes he has set it to something in the middle, just high enough to one-shot through BST, but nothing more than that. If Versus can tank just one shot from Darkun, then he would be able to kill him and equal the score. So Versus attacked again, this time stacking BST with armor. A gamble to see if he could tank Darkun's damage mods. And Versus was right. He managed to tank a shot from Darkun, winning a direct head-to-head for the first time in their match. However, Versus didn't get time to heal after the fact, which allowed Darkun to once again catch him.
Oh my god, doesn't miss!
It was at this point that Roy Breaker, a member of Versus's X-Pro crew, came in clutch with an assist, using the orbital cannon, which would spawn Darkun away at the hospital, giving Versus a little time to breathe. Due to being so far away, Darkun came flying back on an Oppressor Mark II, and of course, the second mods can't give him an advantage, he flies in a straight line like a moron, and Versus gets him on his first flyover. Now, using the same strategy as before, Versus takes armor and BST to beat Darkun in another head-to-head, then another, and another, bringing the score to 6-3. To this, Darkun realizes he has to make a change in the tempo or else Versus will run away with the score. So he tries Oppressor Mark II again, and this time he gets really lucky that Versus doesn't notice him, as by the looks of things, he's just flying in a straight line again. As he gets close, Darkun's movements in the Oppressor become a bit harder to hit, and he manages to score a kill this time. However, that doesn't last long. It's clear that Darkun lacks vital game sense. His mistake here is knowing that Versus is using BST and the minigun, and despite this, he isn't taking BST himself when he uses the Oppressor, which means his health bar just gets absolutely melted. Which, unfortunately for Versus, makes Darkun spawn in an incredibly nice position. See, by no choice of his own, the game spawned Darkun on what I call a multi-position spawn. See, this bridge has 2 levels that Darkun could spawn on. There are several spawn points under the bridge, as well as spawns on the overpass itself. However, on the map, it's impossible to tell where darkun is. This is called map manipulation, using the elevation to your advantage to trick your opponent into not knowing your true position, and darkun has pulled this off by no will of his own. Versus took a guess that darkun would be below because there are just more spawns here on the grassy part, but unfortunately, he just so happened to guess wrong, allowing darkun to get a 6th kill. It's so clear that darkun is cheating in this fight. Being able to 2v1 two of the top snipers at the time is just ridiculous. I've fought Roybreaker, and he is genuinely good. He wasn't someone I could kill easily back then when I fought him, and is someone who shouldn't be shot down so easily, especially when standing next to Versus. However, realizing that they have to play smart, Versus and Roy's teamwork begins to outshine darkun's triggerbot, as they attack from different angles, giving each other room to attack in turns. While one distracts, the other attacks. And after no more than 3 minutes of this, darkun begins to complain.
2 versus 1.
Careful. Yeah, nice man.
Modern.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we are
so
both
stupid.
modding now.
But my favorite part is when darkun mutters the absolute poetry. Ronnie, I am record. You exposed now.
Ronnie?
Ronnie.
Yo, so you're Ronnie, man.
Ronnie.
Ronnie. You're exposed now, Ronnie.
At this point, Versus and Roy's team play is seriously too much for darkun. I mean, of course it is. He's fighting 2v1 against two of the best players of this era. But as they were winning, they started to take him a little less seriously, and darkun managed to triggerbot his way back to evening the score with Versus. This is the effect when fighting a cheater. Their mental state has no effect on their aim as it would with a normal player. If a normal player is losing, their aim will fluctuate. They may get nervous, angry, or irritated, and they may miss because of these things. But for darkun, it doesn't matter if he's losing. It doesn't matter if he's fighting two of the best players at the same time. His triggerbot will pick up the slack for him. So, as Versus slackens up, darkun continues to hit his shots with near perfect accuracy. And so, just as darkun realized he needed to switch playstyles earlier, Versus now decided that the tempo of the battle needed to shift. Making a mad dash, Versus ran to take his laser. Darkun, not wanting to allow this, raced after Versus on an oppressor. Even darkun knows that if he gets in that jet, it might change everything. A plethora of outcomes raced across darkun's mind. He could blow it up before he gets inside it. Even if he gets inside it, he can blow it up before it takes off. Even if it takes off, it will take 10 seconds to reach speeds capable of dodging the oppressor's missiles, meaning it will blow up before it's a threat. From where he was, darkun was well within range to stop all of these outcomes. However, he didn't account for this. Just seconds before Versus got into his jet, he enabled passive mode. This is an incredible use of passive because you actually can't enable it if you're already in the jet, as passive mode doesn't work in weaponized vehicles. So, by starting passive mode just before he got into the cockpit, Versus gave himself 30 seconds of invulnerability to take off in his jet. But this also means that the passive mode end countdown began. A countdown to the final stage of their battle. Versus used a technique I'll give a name to now, and let's call it up and over. See, GT Online spawns are part based on where you aren't looking. It's game design 101 to not show the player something spawning in, and the same goes for other players. Rockstar doesn't want to spawn entities in your line of sight and tries to force this rule all over the game. So by abusing this, we know that wherever you're facing after killing someone, they will spawn behind you, creating this up and over effect in a jet where you turn around immediately to kill your target as they spawn in. And you hear Versus' confidence in this fact, saying he has no chance.
He has no chance.
Yeah, he has no chance.
The only thing that broke darkun out of the spawn trap was another jet entering the airspace, but after realizing these guys were friendly, the fight continues, with Versus abusing BST plus minigun trick to kill darkun before he can even react. and because he's losing, darkun immediately goes back to complaining about 4 versus 1, despite the fact he's been cheating with triggerbot and damage mods the entire time. The thing with this guy is, I think he believes he is legit. He genuinely gets mad if you team up on him, and he doesn't seem to know why it's happening. It's kinda crazy to watch. But at this point, darkun begins to panic, because Versus is just so far ahead in kills that there was no way for him to win anymore. darkun had been embarrassed on the highest stage of GT Online PvP, and his lackey crew members in the lobby were basically shaking in their boots the whole time, watching their crew leader get destroyed. They don't even step in to help him a single time. It's embarrassing. After losing, darkun regressed to his usual behavior, crashing Roy's game to get him out of the picture, but too little, too late.
Getting crashed?
I got crashed.
In the final moments of this fight, darkun goes on to spam the chat with his usual hogwash. The final score of their fight being 42-22 to UVersusPro. A whole year later, Versus had avenged me. But in this defeat, darkun made a promise, announcing a crew war against Versus, and that everyone will hunt him and his friends, causing the Empro coalition and UVP's crew to join forces against darkun, creating one super coalition on the side of UVersusPro. Thus began the Battle of the Three Armies, which took place between 2020 and 2022, where everyone made it their mission to make pro-darkun god quit GTA 5 Online. I'd like to showcase a funny clip I just came across, where darkun is trying to capitalize on the attention of the UVersusPro fight, and he does a live stream, where he just opens his mod menu on accident and immediately panic ends the stream. This guy is so dumb. Anyway, now acute viewers will realize I said 3 armies. So we have people fighting on the side of UVersusPro, of course darkun's XARX Crew, but also the Spanish. See, this fight pushed darkun to stardom in the Spanish GTA community, and feeling misrepresented by darkun, they banded together to create essentially an anti-XARX force I like to call the Inquisition. Now we'll get into them a little later, but just imagine, darkun has waged war on UVersusPro's crew and friends and basically his entire viewer base, but now there is a Spanish community arming up to fight him too. So while they arm themselves, darkun turns his forces to another YouTuber in UVersusPro's group, someone he's expecting an easy victory over, and that person is Astura. It all started with the lower tier members of XARX attacking Astura in certain lobbies. These members had the XARX macros in full force, with some of them in just straight up god mode. What's funnier is that these crew members don't even know darkun. It just goes to show that his crew was becoming a bit dysfunctional. darkun had appointed some people to invite good players they met to the crew, but there doesn't seem to have been any screening process through darkun. So these members don't even know why they're fighting and why they're targeting Astura. They're just acting under this mysterious figure, who we'd later learn to be called Nil. Nil is the XARX 00000 account, and it was believed for some time that this account was darkun himself. However, this is disproved in Astura's video, where we can see darkun and the Nil account in-game and fighting at the same time. Earlier I mentioned that darkun expected his fight with Astura to be an easy victory, as Astura was uploading what were basically funny moments videos. darkun was scoring kills against Versus, so Astura should be easy. Right? But unfortunately for darkun, that was not the case. Going on to lose 6-3, 7-3, only managing kills by teleporting onto buildings and thermal triggerbotting him with damage mods. But it didn't matter, because darkun jumpings were in session more than ever. But we weren't the only ones getting serious. darkun was taking this crew war incredibly seriously, as people realized he wasn't surrounded by random noobs anymore, but these mysterious Nil accounts. That's right, plural, because there were 3 of these Nil accounts backing up darkun at any given time. This real backup on darkun's side for once seemed to actually give him confidence to let these fights play out instead of just immediately logging the lobby. And you'll realize where that confidence comes from when you see that all of these Nil accounts were repping the XARX macros, the real deal, not just the no cops thing we stole earlier. They're toggling God mode, constantly using damage mods and trigger bots, and with up to 4 of these people to deal with, just jumping darkun wasn't cutting it anymore. So, we once again had to change strategies. And so, against such a powerful foe, our strategy was now RC spamming. Everyone saw how Versus took darkun by surprise with the RC car glitch earlier. So during these Astura wars, everyone started spamming the RC tank. See, like the RC car, the RC tank also acts in the same way. When you die in RC, the kill doesn't count. And with the tank being more sustainable, it was more efficient to have an army of RC tanks than RC banditos. But the best thing in this case, that I'd normally have complained about, is the fact that the cooldown for RC vehicles isn't universal. A terrible game mechanic, but perfect for fighting darkun and his henchmen. What this means is that when your RC tank blows up, you can instantly go to the bandito before darkun and his minions could trigger bot you. This allowed you to juggle the cooldowns back and forth indefinitely, making the strategy highly effective. But darkun's new crewmates weren't entirely stupid either. See, darkun and his henchmen were scarily growing some semblance of game sense, starting to use their environment to their advantage. They told darkun to always fight in the mountains when big groups were involved, where it was wide open, so that A, he could see your RC vehicles coming at you at all times, and B, if he blew you up, he'd have a good chance at sniping you as you're probably gonna spawn out in the open. But despite all the advantages of stronger teammates, better strategies and cheats, darkun was still defeated here, fundamentally just sucking at the game. It got so pathetic that eventually he started begging in all chat for people to just stop following him. Maybe you're wondering how. How are people following him, as well as how people are finding darkun in the vastness of GT Online lobbies, of which there are probably thousands. Well, it's time I explained how all of this is happening, and it's all thanks to gateways. Thanks to darkun leaving all his recruiting to his nil members, he had no idea who was in his crew. See, on GT Online, there's this little menu called Crews, which allows you to see all the crews that your friends are in, but not only that, it allows you to view them as a player list. All player lists in GT Online act the same. The player card. Here you can see their current outfit, their KD, and all their stats, but because this is the same menu used in missions, it means you could also join or invite them. So if you got an alt account into XARX Crew and added that alt account to your friends list, you would have created a gateway. A gateway to joining any online member's game as long as it wasn't private. darkun, who fundamentally didn't understand how the game worked and tried cheating his way to being the best, wasn't aware this level of play was possible. So this was continuously abused, allowing people to join and attack XARX members at all times. And of course, as soon as someone got into a public lobby, they called for backup. The goal was to truly destroy darkun and his crew, and realizing that he was losing the war, darkun mental boomed for the second time. He started rage hacking and speed glitching everywhere whenever someone provoked him. He was having a bit of a mental breakdown due to the fact that he had lost the versus, and now was losing the war that he had started. So, in 2022, something incredible happened. darkun stopped using a VPN to play in EU servers, and began playing in his local Spanish-only lobbies and locking them with his mod menu. This was a major victory for everyone involved on UVP's side. We had successfully bullied a modder out of our server, and we also stopped seeing the nil accounts at this point too. darkun must have been so fed up and thought that some time fighting noobs on his server would allow for some easy practice. But unfortunately for darkun, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Now, the Spanish battles were sort of lost to time, as what transpired is a bit of a tragedy. As mentioned earlier, I'll be referring to the Spanish anti-darkun squad as the Inquisition, as their true name has been lost to time. And you'll find out why a little later. Now, XARX began fighting with the Inquisition around 2022. They went back and forth for some weeks, the Inquisition fighting the same fight we were, with the goal to make darkun quit for being annoying and a cheater. Since they were naturally on the Spanish servers, when darkun would load into a lobby and lock it, they were already in the lobby. After a few weeks of fighting, both sides were getting sick, and it was decided that it should all come down to a final 1v1 sniper duel to decide the winner of XARX versus the Inquisition. Darkun knew that if he won here, it would give him the momentum to rally his crew for another fight with Versus. He assumed that if he beat the strongest Spanish player, then the Inquisition would fall apart, and he might be able to convince more people to join XARX and help him continue the war. So of course, XARX chose Darkun for the duel. And the Inquisition? Well, they chose a player called LV. LV was known as the strongest sniper among the Inquisition, but this is not like the Versus fight. This was a 1 versus 1 with snipers only. He couldn't use RC, he couldn't use glitches, he couldn't use BST or armor. This was a fight heavily favoring Darkun. So, is it possible for raw skill to beat out overcheats a second time? LV had done it. I don't think you understand how much of a nail in the coffin this is for Darkun. He lost in the main game mode he is cheating for. This is where all his pride comes from. Every fight he has asked for in the past 2 years has been snipers only. And at his lowest point, he lost. A trigger botter just lost a completely fair sniper 1v1 duel. Now, if you're wondering how LV did this, it was a simple matter of understanding how Triggerbot works. See, there are certain conditions where Triggerbot becomes incapable of working, and if LV can force these conditions, then the fight became fair play. The first condition is range. Triggerbot works by simply waiting for your cursor to cross over an enemy and then shooting. Great, but this simple structure doesn't account for distance. Believe it or not, GT Online has bullet travel. People argue that it doesn't, but it just simply does. So if someone is far away, the Triggerbot is essentially targeting a ghost, causing it to miss. The cheats Darkun is using doesn't delay itself or account for distance whatsoever. Now the second condition is objects. In GT Online, you can shoot through things like fences and certain walls, but when you stand behind these things, the Triggerbot just sees the object, and not the player behind it. It isn't capable of knowing what you can and can't shoot through, and so if you quickly move in and out of corners in first person, you will cause the Triggerbot to mess up and hit the corner or just not fire at all. And the final condition is spawn protection. In GTA, you have about 3 to 5 seconds of spawn protection, and in those precious seconds, you will obviously be immune to the Triggerbot. Using all 3 of these conditions, a lot of skill, and just to put it plainly, speed blitzing Darkun, LV was able to win the duel. Afterwards, Darkun wanted to do something a little weird. He wanted to befriend LV for beating him, and asked if he'd agree to a truce. However, understandably, LV didn't want anything to do with Darkun. LV was just fighting on his group's behalf, not caring about Darkun at all, and after seeing how Darkun treated his friends, just wanted nothing to do with him. But this dismissal of friendship enraged Darkun, which unfortunately started many months of harassment, doxing, and worse. It might be funny if it weren't horrible that the way Darkun reacts is the exact reason LV doesn't want to be his friend in the first place. But now, dear viewer, it begins. The complete fall of Pro Darkun God. This defeat completely broke him. Darkun became completely alienated from his crew going into 2023, and XARX was basically never seen in lobbies again, bar a few random people who just straight up didn't know what the crew was. This defeat marked Darkun's third mental boom. Darkun wouldn't get a round 2 against Versus. He would never recoup his forces for another attack on Versus' crew, and he wouldn't even play GTA 5 anymore. As far as the English-speaking crews went, we had completely destroyed Darkun and successfully made him quit the game. So, why doesn't this feel like victory? Because Darkun made it his mission to ruin the lives of LV and a few others from the Inquisition. Somehow, Darkun got the house's phone number of an unknown Inquisition member and began talking to their mother. On this call with the Inquisition member's mother, Darkun pretended to be someone from the government, prodding and prying for information on the unknown person and LV. With this, he got all their information, and his first course of action in this grand evil plan was to send pizzas to their house. This is the level of intelligence we are dealing with. He has all their information, and his end goal is pizzas. The guy who cheats in literally every single game he has ever touched isn't very creative. Surprise, surprise. However, after some weeks, Darkun realizes he can do more harm by swatting them, which would be his mistake. Not his last mistake, mind you, he one-ups himself, don't worry, but it was this mistake that ended up with Darkun in court. Now, obviously I don't have all the information on a niche court trial, but at this point it was ongoing and not looking good for Darkun. However, during this court battle, due to stress, most of the Inquisition members deleted their YouTube channels so they wouldn't have to remember Darkun and to not antagonize him further, which is why all of the footage was lost. Now, you may expect that because of all the court stuff, that Darkun will lay low and not do anything else to put the law enforcement on his back. Well, if you expected him to do the smart thing for once, you'd be wrong. Because during this court battle, Darkun decided to start scamming people on what is essentially Spanish Amazon by selling GT Online modded accounts that he was just not doing for people. You may think, no way that's what got him, but yeah, this just falls under scamming. People are paying him for something and he isn't giving it to them. So, with the scamming, the swatting, the DDoSing and booting that was all collected as evidence against him, at some point during this, Darkun was sent to juvie, only getting out around 7 months ago. So he was in there for a long time. I think 2 years, but I obviously don't have the exact dates for something like this, but after looking at his online activity, he was in there for about 2 years. At the end of this journey, you may expect some form of enlightenment, that he will change his ways for the better. But it seems this isn't that type of story, as after failing to become the best GT Online player, Darkun now makes cheating videos on CS2. There is a saying that rotten wood cannot be carved, and rotten is one of the many ways to describe Darkun. Exiting prison as unchanged as he was when he went in, he is without a doubt GTA 5's most evil player. And with that, thanks for watching.